What if the cure to the rage virus was never a vaccine, but a lullaby? Picture a 7-foot infected man, the kind that rips spines out of bodies for sport, standing by a river at dusk, listening to Duran Duran. A dying doctor slow dances with him. They've been doing this for months. The monster has learned one word: moon. And somewhere across the wasteland, a 12-year-old boy just stabbed a man in the femoral artery to earn a cheap blonde wig. Welcome to his new family. This is 28 years later. The Bone Temple, the 2026 sequel, that doesn't just expand the franchise, it completely redefines what this story is about. Because for the first time in 28 years of rage, someone asked a question nobody thought to ask. What if the infected aren't monsters but patients? The film opens on two parallel stories that slowly coil into one. The first belongs to Spike, and it is not a rescue. The people who grabbed him call themselves the Fingers, though everyone in the gang goes by some variation of Jimmy. Jimmy Inc., Jemima, Jimmy Shite, Jimmy Fox. Their leader, Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell in what might be the most unsettling performance of his career. The aesthetic is deliberate nightmare fuel. Cheap Party City blonde wigs, neon tracksuits, upside-down crucifixes on every surface. The group operates like a cult that stumbled into a 1980s aerobic studio and decided it was a cathedral. Jimmy Crystal believes genuinely, completely, that he is the literal son of Satan, Old Nick. Every murder, every act of torture is framed as charity, a gift to his father. He has the calm, unshakable conviction of a man who has never once doubted himself, which is, of course, exactly what makes him so terrifying. Spike's initiation is a fight to the death in an abandoned swimming pool. He ends up stabbing Jimmy Shite through the femoral artery. The gang watches, laughs, applauds. Spike gets the wig. Welcome to the family. O'Connell plays Crystal less as a cartoon devil and more as a damaged child who turned trauma and religious delusion into a management style. There are moments, just flickers, where you see the hurt kid underneath. They don't make him sympathetic. They make him worse. The second thread is where the film becomes something extraordinary. Dr. Ian Kelson Ralph Fiennes, giving a performance that genuinely should be in conversation at awards season, has been living alone in the wilderness, slowly building something he calls the Bone Temple, an ossuary. Thousands of human skulls and bones stacked into walls, arches, towers. It is simultaneously horrifying and beautiful, a monument to the dead, a fortress of last hope. His only companion is Samson, an alpha infected, massive, violent, capable of tearing a person apart in seconds. Kelson has been sedating him with morphine darts for months at first, just to survive. But then something shifts. Samson starts responding. He stops thrashing during sedation. He turns toward Kelson's voice. And then, one morning, he says his first word, moon. Kelson's medical background kicks in. He studies the rage virus not as a biological weapon, but as a psychiatric condition. The infected don't see humans, they see demons. The virus induces an extreme psychotic break. That's the mechanism. And if the psychosis can be treated with the right combination of antipsychotics and sedatives, the underlying person might still be there. The scenes between Fiennes and Chai Lewis Perry as Samson are the emotional core of the entire film. The slow dancing by the river, the morphine darts fired gently, almost tenderly. The moment Samson says a second word, then a third. Lewis Perry performs almost entirely through physicality and breath, and somehow makes you genuinely care about a character the franchise spent 3 films training you to fear. The Jimmys raid a survivor farmhouse. They capture a group including a pregnant woman named Kathy and her partner Tom. What follows is one of the most brutal sequences in the franchise, and DaCosta doesn't look away. Skinning, burning, ritual charity. Kathy escapes, running toward the only structure she can see in the distance, Kelson's Bone Temple. Jimmy Inc. Aaron Kellyman quietly excellent spots Kelson through the trees. He's dancing with Samson. She reports back to Crystal with a stunned expression. I think we found Old Nick. Jimmy Crystal does not need to be told twice. The entire gang descends on the Bone Temple. Crystal gives Kelson a choice. Play the role of Satan, perform, preach, sanction their violence, or watch Spike die. Kelson agrees, and what follows is one of the most genuinely strange sequences in mainstream horror this decade. He rigs the temple with candles, petrol, hallucinogenic powder vented through the bone walls, and an Iron Maiden record on a hand-cranked turntable. He puts on full devil makeup, the black paint around his eyes, the theatrical robes. And then Ralph Fiennes, one of the finest classical actors alive, goes completely off the reservation. He shrieks. He dances. He sets bone towers on fire with a single gesture. He delivers commandments in a voice that bounces off every skull in the room. The Jimmies are terrified, ecstatic, fully convinced. And then Kelson sees Spike's face in the crowd. Something shifts. He looks out at all of them, these broken, violent, lost people, and delivers his final commandment. Pure, clean betrayal. Crystal charges him. Kelson takes a knife to the gut. Spike stabs Crystal from behind. Jimmy Inc., who has been quietly doubting everything for the entire film, turns on the rest of the cult, slaughtering them with methodical efficiency. They crucify Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, upside down, on an inverted cross, in the burning bone temple, with Iron Maiden echoing off the skulls. He screams for his mother. And then as Kelson's hallucinogenic powder finally clears from the air, the psychosis lifts. For one lucid, awful moment, Jimmy Crystal hears nothing. No Satan's voice. No divine mandate. Nothing. Just the fire in his own breath. He dies quoting the crucifixion, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" It's devastating. O'Connell earns it completely. Kelson, bleeding out, tells Spike everything. The research, the cure, where the medical notes are hidden in the bunker beneath the temple. And then Samson appears, fully lucid, wearing a stag skull like a crown. He looks at Kelson, the man who danced with him, who called him by name, who chose to treat him as a patient instead of a monster, and he says, clearly, "Thank you." He carries Kelson's body away into the darkness. Gently, Spike and Jimmy Inc., who tells him her real name, as Kelly walk out through the pillars of bone together. Behind them, the temple burns. The final scene cuts forward. We're at the White Cottage, from the original 28 Days Later. Jim is here. Cillian Murphy, older, grayer, still carrying that same haunted stillness. He's teaching his teenage daughter Sam history, specifically the Treaty of Versailles versus the Marshall Plan, how punishing a defeated enemy creates monsters, how rebuilding one creates allies. This time, he says quietly, "We punish the ideas, not the people." Through the window, they see two figures running hard, a pack of infected behind them, Spike and Kelly. Sam asks, "Do we help them?" Jim doesn't even look up. "Of course we do." No post-credits scene, no jump scare, just that quiet, certain promise. What this sets up for the third film to be directed by Danny Boyle, completing the trilogy, is enormous. The cure is real and documented. Samson is out there, lucid, and knows where Kelson's bunker is. Kelly has skills, survival experience, and no more cult loyalty. Spike has seen the best and worst of what humans become in the apocalypse, and Jim, the original survivor, is ready to rebuild. The Marshall Plan metaphor isn't subtle, but it earns its weight. The entire franchise has been about what people do with their rage. The virus is almost a metaphor at this point. The question Garland is really asking is, when the worst is over, do you punish, or do you rebuild? The Bone Temple answers, you rebuild, even if it kills you. Character analysis and themes. Ralph Fiennes as Dr. Ian Kelson. This is a career-best performance in a horror sequel, which is a sentence I did not expect to type. Fiennes plays Kelson as a man who has replaced grief with purpose. Every morphine dart, every recorded word from Samson, every entry in his medical journal is an act of radical hope. His final sacrifice isn't martyrdom. It's just the logical conclusion of who he is. Jack O'Connell as Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal. Genuinely terrifying, because he's built from recognizable pieces. He weaponizes charisma the way real cult leaders do, through certainty, through performance, through making the people around him feel chosen. The moment his father's voice goes silent is the most chilling beat in the film, precisely because O'Connell plays the silence, not the scream. Spike and Kelly. Alfie Williams carries the weight of a kid forced into a dozen impossible choices. Aaron Kellyman gives Kelly a quiet arc, the flicker of conscience inside a death cult, slowly burning brighter until it ignites everything. Samson Chai Lewis Perry performs almost entirely through physicality, a rage monster who just wanted to go home on the train. When he finally speaks and remembers who he was, it hits harder than any kill in the franchise. The themes DaCosta and Garland are asking something specific. What happens when trauma becomes ideology? The Jimmies are what you get when damaged people find a framework that makes their violence feel sacred. The infected are almost a distraction from the real horror, which is humans choosing this. But the film refuses nihilism. The cure exists. Empathy works. One dying doctor and one recovering monster prove that rage isn't permanent, not even the virus kind. Final verdict and rating. The Bone Temple is the movie this franchise needed and didn't know it was building toward. It's brutal, strange, tender, and genuinely hopeful in a way that earns every drop of blood that came before it. Fiennes and O'Connell deserve award conversations. DaCosta proves she can operate in any genre at the highest level, and the quiet scene with Jim and his daughter in that cottage hit me harder than any infected attack in the entire series.